Wow. Tonight, 3 rounds with Señor Campbell, an amazing guest, the #1 contender in the UFC. Now that Amanda, whose name we now shall not say, Nunez, has retired. Julianna Peña, my dear friend, we've known each other 10 years. Our friendship started when she threatened to choke me unconscious because I'd posted an unflattering Instagram picture, and she really scared me. But we have become super friends. I'm glad to have her. Also, I've only been on one fight in my entire career since MMA started, one fight, and it was her fight with Nunez. And yes, I did make a lot of money. So thank you for that. And, and congrats, too, because that was a big win.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Campbell. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, JP. So we got a lot of things to talk about. 3 rounds with Señor Campbell. What we do is we do 3 questions, and we've got about 5 minutes, and then the bell rings, and we move to the next question. So I wanted to ask you, and you probably know more about the UFC fighters and women fighters and Combate fighters than anyone, because you fight for the UFC, you commentate for us, you've seen us from the beginning. Let's talk about women's MMA. Why do you think, maybe you don't think, but I think, why do you think women's MMA is so exciting right now and maybe the most exciting part of the sport?
Oh, golly, that's it's an interesting question. I believe that, 10 years, if you go back 10 years ago, you look at the men's division versus the women's division, they would say the women are so far behind, you know what I mean? They're so far behind in terms of skill and levels to what they can do. Nowadays, if you look at the women's fights that you see currently, you see that they're actually up to speed with the men. So there's not that much of a gap in skill. They can wrestle, they can do jiu-jitsu, they can do just as much as the men can do. And I think that that's what makes it very exciting. I also believe, especially me coming from a standpoint of having a child, mama bears. Have you ever seen a mama bear trying to protect their cubs?
Absolutely.
I feel like women fight for more. Like they got more to prove. They have more of a, more skin in the game because it's so personal. They want to say that, fighting isn't personal, but it is personal. It's fist fighting. And I'm always fighting. Even when I didn't have a baby, I was always fighting for my imaginary baby and like pretending that somebody was trying to take the food off of my kid's table. And I couldn't have it. So I would always talk about, this person's trying to take my baby away or trying to take food out of my baby's mouth. And they would always say, what baby do you have? And I'd be like, well, it's an imaginary baby, but I'm a mama bear.
Julianna, you're quite the mama bear. And there was a great picture of your daughter who's backing you up at your fight with Amanda. But let me ask you, so sometimes people have said the men hug it out at the end, but the women still hold grudges. Do you think that's true? Do you think it's true that women take this more personally than men?
I think that women are good sports, Before I used to. Nowadays, I'm like, yeah, it's a sport. Like, for example, when I won the first time against Amanda, I gave her a hug, yeah, ha ha, he he. In the second fight, I still gave her a hug, but I was still very bad taste in my mouth, I'll say. So it's not to say that we're going to be, braiding each other's hair and having sleepovers with each other. I don't think that that's going to be the case. But as a professional, you can kind of let bygones be bygones, and if you run into this person, buy them a beer or whatever, But it's not too personal for me in that sense.
Are there any women in the sport, and you're relatively new to the sport, in terms of the sport's been around 30 years. Who are the pioneers? Is there anyone you looked up to? I mean, I don't think you particularly felt warm and fuzzy towards Ronda Rousey.
No, I definitely didn't, because she wasn't, the nicest to me when we were on The Ultimate Fighter together. And I feel like I started the sport when it was brand new. There wasn't a lot of women fighting when I got into the sport in 2008. The one who sticks out the most to me, the one that I could connect with and relate to the most, was definitely Gina Carano. Yeah. She could kick ass, and she was very beautiful. And she proved that just because you're a pretty face doesn't mean that you can't kick ass. And so Gina was definitely one that I looked up to when I was coming up in the sport.
And I would agree. We're, I'm going to hear the bell soon, and we're going to go to our next question. And I think the next question is going to get, I love you. I want you to be you. Answer in any way you want to. I want to talk about you and your career, right? And I want to say that I love you. You know I love you.
Thank you.
But a lot of people don't seem to love you.
Right.
And in fact, they might be the opposite of love. And I think my theory is you're very glamorous, you're very beautiful. We did a photo shoot for people in Espanol. And, I mean, you look like you were a movie star. It was total glamour. What is it about Julianna Peña that people don't seem to love the way I do? It's a weird question, but why don't more people love you?
You know, I feel like one of the hangups for a lot of people, and this isn't just for me, and this isn't just in MMA, but women who are loud and women who are opinionated. A lot of people have a hard time with women that are loud and opinionated because they are just expecting women to be, you know, like meek and quiet and, you know, be able to.
Even fighters?
Well, I think that they're probably just wanting fighters to be respectful and be nice to each other and, you know, be super.
But clearly a double standard, right? Conor McGregor is far from respectful.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So I mean, really what you're saying is it's sexism, right? They expect women to be a little more mannered than the guys. Like you're not allowed to throw like a dolly through a bus window, right? You can't do that.
The thing is, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if I were to do that, you know, obviously I'm like the most hated person right now in women's MMA. But if I were to, you know, throw a dolly like Conor, oh my gosh, forget about it. It would be, you know, worse than what Conor did. But because it was Conor, it's not really that big of a deal.
People also like you less because you beat Amanda.
Yeah, you think
because
that's what it is?
she was a hero.
Yeah.
She was considered the GOAT.
Right.
And I think beating her, and if people don't like you and then you beat someone they really like, then they triple don't like you.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about this?
You know, there's nothing I can do because no matter what, at the end of the day, love me or hate me, my goal is for you to know me. And not only that, but love me or hate me, you're a fan. You know what I mean? If
the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference.
Right.
So love or hate, pay for the pay-per-view.
Exactly.
Yeah,
love or hate, you know, you're watching me and that's all that matters. My job is to make everybody forget about Amanda Nunes and just remember that, you know, you're watching the Julianna Peña show.
All right. So we're going to end round two. We're going to go to round three. So we talked about women's MMA. We talked about your career. You know Combate inside and out. You've sat at the commentator bench. I've used you for publicity events. You know the athletes. You know the training camps of the athletes. What is it about Combate that's different overall from the other organizations? What's different about Combate's women?
So the number one thing that jumps off the page for me is the weight divisions. We have a lot of the smaller girls, and the weight classes only go up to 125. So with that being said, we're also introducing a new super atomweight division, and that's extremely exciting.
That's so we can compete more effectively with the Japanese fighters.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese fighters like to fight at 108.
Right. And I heard that we were going to be having a 3-pound discrepancy with Mike A on if it was really going to be 108. But yes, no, I do believe that there is a bigger opportunity, especially for this being a smaller organization, to get more shine. You know, you're not competing against 700 other rostered fighters that you can't remember what their names are, especially with the viewership that we have with Paramount Plus and with the Latin American audience. There's more of an opportunity for these women to shine. And let's not forget about the fights themselves. They're exciting. Mucho más acción. It's for a reason. They're standing up. They're in the pocket. They're not going to shy away from, you know, getting in a fist fight. There's a lot more action. There's a lot more scraps, I would feel. They're more of like a real scrap, you know what I mean? There's not so much time on the ground. If there are and they're stalling, they get stood up right away. And I love that because it makes for more exciting fights, and I think that that's what the fans want to see, especially the Latin American audience.
Yeah, because newer fans, our Univision audience is actually very different than the UFC audience, right? We've only got 5-6% of our audience is watching the UFC. So I think what we've wanted to do is emphasize, if the ground game isn't good, we want you stood up, right? Because we want to go where the action is. And I think we've done pretty well on that. And you've seen us grow, right? I mean, hasn't the talent level advanced remarkably since we first met?
It really has. And not only that, but obviously what I love about the talent level is that you see these guys that are getting their starts here, and obviously they want to reach what they think is going to be the pinnacle. But what they really need to stick with is Combate, because they are getting more attention, they are getting more shine, and you see that they're getting these offers to go to these bigger organizations, and they're choosing to stay here, and it's for a reason. They get treated very well. Their fights are showcased a lot all over the place with the ratings is what they are. And I really think that it's exciting to see them grow. I remember, let's say, for example, one of these guys, Christian Perez, had him since he was 19 years old, got him to 11-1,
Yep. That's
an amazing record to be able to have no pro fights to now 11-1. He's like our little baby. And
what JP is saying in a very polite way is, don't leave Combate. Don't think the grass is greener at the UFC lawn. She knows. She can tell you. You're going to have more fun here. You're going to get paid the same, maybe a little more. And it's going to be just a better chance for your career. She didn't want to come right out and say that. So as the promoter, I'll come out and say that.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
All right. So, JP, what's ahead for you? I know you don't have the next fight locked. You're coming off of an injury. What's the trajectory you want? You want to go in and you want to solidify your championship status, right?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this trilogy fight lined up, and that's my fault for getting injured. Injuries are part of the sport, but I was hoping to get that trilogy locked in to reclaim my title. And now it's just going to have to be against another opponent. So you're talking to the synthetic champ, and it's just a matter of time. I will be fighting for the belt next, and that's the only thing that I can say at this point.
Super. Well, I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you, Campbell. I'm your biggest fan.
This is a good operation. Anyway, we're going to end up with JP here. Thank you for being part of Senior Campbell's 3 rounds. Next up, I guess you'll be sitting in on the Paramount booth. And it's been great talking to you. Thanks very much. See you next time. Senior Campbell's 3 rounds.